Well, hello everybody, and a huge warm welcome to you all today. It is your ticket, your golden ticket to success, money, and freedom, and happiness, of course. I am so excited to welcome our wonderful guest today, Julie Dolman. And Julie is a master shamanic practitioner and healer. And she offers healing relief and opens the doors to possibilities for her clients who come from all over the world to work with her. She's also the author of Living Shamanism, Unveiling the Mystery. So, Julie, welcome.
Thank you, Maria. Lovely to be here with you.
I am so excited to hang out with you today. And I just want to and I know that tell us where you are in the world.
I'm in Southern Ireland, County Wexford.
Wonderful.
It's very rural, about 20 minutes from the beach. Very, very beautiful place.
Beautiful. So I want to know, and I would like you to share with our audience, what took place perhaps in your past, Julie, that has impacted you at that point in such a way that it's actually helped shape who you are today and ignite that kind of passion for what you do and has seen you do this in your life?
Well, the thing really, coming from a normal past, and when I say a normal past, went along the route of normal careers and got married, had children, got into buying a house, materialism, all that sort of stuff. What really changed all that and shaped who I am today was shamanism, pure and simple. And the change came in the journey and the teachings that started off on a huge path. If I say we, I talk about myself and my husband because we both did this together. But it was one pivotal experience during those teachings that changed everything. And it was while sitting with two Cairo priests who'd come all the way over from the mountains in Peru, and they came on a big silver-winged eagle, as they called it. They'd never seen an aeroplane in their life, and we ended up sitting with them in the middle of Kilkenny one cold November day. Now, none of us could speak each other's language. There was an interpreter on board, and the whole experience, because it was very personal, one-on-one, and I just sat and watched them, whatever they were doing, and they were reading my energy body, and then they were doing what was called a dispatcher, which is like an offering, and it reads our energy to actually determine where you are or what your destiny is going to unfold into. So I allowed this to happen, and it was really a bit surreal and very cold. They put me in a bath and doused me and cleansed me and put different cottons over me to cut ties. But during the healing initiation, we'd finished all that and we were walking outside to burn the offering, because that is the way of shamanism. You burn it, give it to the mother. And on the way, there was this massive rainbow. And Don Sebastian, who was this the little shaman priest that was there, said he started giggling. So I asked his interpreter, what's he giggling at? Is he either knew what was going to happen or what was going on? And he said, no, he's giggling because the rainbow is a sign that you are to be a healer. And there is no coming back from that. And so that was in late November 2005. And by March 2006, I'd left my job and I sat firmly and went into the road of healing. And that was what changed everything.
So a very prominent turning point for you there. So
yeah, really prominent.
So how did you set about, implementing those wise words that or that kind of channeled message that you'd had on that day? How did you set about making that change? Because sometimes we might have this message or this idea that something needs to change, but how do we do it?
Well, it was a strange thing, because within my energy body there was no choice, if you can understand what I mean. My whole energy body was ahead of me. You know what I'm talking about.
I do.
And I think in some way, for most people, what changes is that we have an awakening, okay? And that awakening will come in many forms for all different people. It's all different. That awakening is almost like what becomes the medicine of your soul, okay? And the carer, the proving shamans always call this your medicine, and it's your own personal medicine. And for me, my medicine was shamanism, okay? And that was what awoke inside me, and I embarked on the journey right there and then, and I fell right into the journey of my soul. And so the change was already happening. I didn't really have much choice in that change, if you can understand. But the minute my ego aligned to it and my humanness aligned to it, everything went bonk, bonk, bonk into place. And that was, you know, following out really on from a 2-year course with the Four Winds Society in improving shamanism. And it all really started to click away. And, you know, you go through your own journey as a wounded healer to come out the other side, and you're a full mesa carrier, which is a healer in our tradition. And but as I say, after that initiation with the carer, there was no choice. It was going to happen. And that's what happened.
Wonderful. Would you be able to share with us what job you were doing before this change occurred, and
Yes.
and also the practical steps that you took? Because I know there are a lot of people out there who are, you know, in that sort of phase of their life, just as you were, you know, the traditional kind of mapped out, you know, you graduate college or university, you go and get married, you go and get married, you get your job, your house, you know, but then they can feel that there's more, but sometimes the practicality of it can sometimes keep us a little bit stuck. You know, could you talk to us about that and give any insights?
Of course I can. My job was a crime analyst, okay? I worked for Thames Valley Police in England, and I'd worked as a crime analyst for 8 years, okay? And there's probably two parts of the change. The one part of the change was that as I was doing the work I was doing, and my job was to pattern crimes and offenders who were doing the crimes, but the change came when I suddenly understood the offender a little bit more, because if you really look into an offender, you know, it's not necessarily their first choice of what they want to do, but behind that is a whole social history of what's gone on and what's driven them and what's put them in that place. And that really, you know, I come from a place where I couldn't judge any longer. I had to stop judging. I had to stop criticizing. So that I had to look at the whole point of social history and the whole point of what was going on globally that drove people to do what they did. And it could be an unhappy childhood, sexual abuse, addictions, you name it, you know. They weren't born probably to be an offender, if you get my point. So that was one of the huge awakenings, okay, or one of the ways it changed. But I was a mother. I got 2 teenage daughters that were going off to university, so this decision didn't come lightly at all. So I had to really follow my heart on this one and really trust not in a fluffy bunny sort of way, but really understand that the universe is looking after me. If I've made the right decision, everything's going to fall into place. So that decision, once I made it, okay, I thought, well, we're all going to be okay. Everyone's going to be okay in this. So that's what helped forge that decision. And I put my notice in by March 2006, end of March 2006, I'd left. And I'd already been healing, you know, sort of on, you know, after work and things like that. But the change came by literally stepping in and stepping up and arriving for that purpose. Okay? Thank you. That's how it happened.
So what would you be able to say to anyone who is now currently in that position? Perhaps they've got an innate ability, a passion, a talent that they've been maybe hiding away for many, many years. And it's sort of almost sort of pulling at their, you know, at their sort of trouser leg or dress, and kind of really not leaving them alone, but they might be locked in that fear and just almost paralyzed in that place of not being able to move forward. What one thing could you say to them to just help them along?
You've got to really understand that, you know, it's not all about us as humans. It isn't all about us as our earth walk. There's a bigger, larger picture at play with us. And that picture is governed very much from the universe and it's governed very much within our soul as a contract. Okay? And when you're in that place, once you really have to go through the barriers of fear. You have to really go through the barriers of, standing on that cliff top and thinking, God, if I jump, am I going to end up flattening myself and die? Well, probably. Take it to the most worst possible case scenario. What can happen? And then when you pull it all back and say, well, there's nothing bad going to happen. If I make a wrong decision, so what? I make a wrong decision. Does it really matter? It's just another case of learning. And, behind all that then is the universe lines up. It lines up to what it is you're meant to be doing, and it helps you every step along the way. No fear, just jump. Just do it. Because there's nothing that you can't do in this life. There really isn't anything that you can't do. I'm talking about small things, you just take a small step at a time, but trust in your own ability that it is you that is the only person that can do this, because you're the only unique person in this.
You might have noticed I actually closed my eyes when you started talking.
I did.
And that was because I was drinking the words up like, a desert would soak up rain after, such a long drought. Because they're not new to me, but when I hear them, it feels as though it's new to me. Does that make sense? It's like I know it, but to hear it again, it's like, oh, music to my soul. And I'm so glad that you went there. With the audience. I'm so grateful that you went there, because I do feel that it is the truth, and it is what people need to hear over and over and over again. And I love how you talked about soul path or soul contracts. You share a little bit more about that for us, because that's something that I know has helped me on my journey, going in and understanding that it's not a crazy idea that I should quit that, very secure lifestyle and jump into this very kind of, I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing over here kind of lifestyle. But once I went in and started to understand that, okay, there's a bit more of a, not method for want of a better word, but there's a bit of a method to this that I have no control over. I was able to go, oh, yeah, I am supported and I am on the right path. So could you please share a little bit more about that for our audience today?
Sure. I think, there's a couple of things that are going on. When you say, when a soul contract, the soul contract is running through you, whatever, you can't stop it, okay? It's like a momentum tunnel that you're on. And whatever you do, whenever you steer, you fall off the path or you take a wrong turn, that momentum tunnel still continues, and eventually you'll get back on the path, because that's your contract. And as a human, we're all here to help others. That's why we're here. We're here to help learn what we need to learn, but we're also here to share that and help others along the path that maybe are a little bit stuck or stagnated. So the soul contract is there working with you all the time. It's like, the film The Golden Compass, where you have the daemon, the little animal that's always by your side. That's your soul contract. You're never alone with it. And whatever guides or guardians are with you, angels, whatever you call them, all masters, they're helping you every step of the way to keep your soul contract. And eventually, it's going to happen. Eventually, you're going to say, okay, I'm hearing you, I'm listening, I'm with you. And you'll jump into whatever it is what you're meant to be doing. And you fall off lots of times, you keep tripping up and falling down a hole. But eventually you say, I'll get in the messages. And you have to listen to the messages that are coming. Listen and watch the accidents that are happening, everything.
So what would you say to somebody who perhaps isn't quite tuned in yet, or maybe doesn't, has this feeling of unfulfillment or disconnect, but perhaps doesn't have a clue as to
where to start?
What to do to reconnect, to bring that, that fulfillment back into their life.
It starts, I think, for most of us, when you start to awaken, and we all know that feeling of awakening you have to shake things up a little bit, okay? So you either do something that takes you out of the remit of your comfort zone, all right? So you have to break free of really routine in some way or another. You start off very small, whether that is, you know, getting up an hour earlier or getting up an hour later, sleeping on the wrong side of the bed, going out for a walk in the rain, and you know, and or staying in the sunshine. You shake things up a little bit just to change things. And then you're mindful that the universe is showing you messages and synchronicities. Things are happening, and things are happening in threes and fours. You know, even the most dumb of us really get it in the end, that something is changing. And then you banish the words fear and mistrust from your vocabulary, okay? Because that's the realm of the human, and that's the realm of the ego. And if you've got those words in your vocabulary, then you're always going to be, you know, attracting the same. So you want to banish them, get rid of them, obliterate them. And then you stop reading the newspaper, then you stop watching the news, then you stop listening to what the media and advertising and the global consciousness is influencing you with. So you know, you have to really drag it back and stop, you know, come from your own perception. Stop listening to the belief systems of others. Our families are the worst with that one. Oh, you should have a good job. Oh, you should be earning this amount. You should be married. You should have a baby by now. Well, you know, that's all old belief systems, and that's somebody else's influence and path. Don't listen to it. Dance and sing your own tune, okay? And dance to your own dance. Just be free. And when you do that, by changing things, by shaking things up a little bit, your passion then is allowed to come through. You're allowed to hear it. You hear that quiet voice from that very, very within. And it happens for everybody. But the trouble is, in this noisy world, sometimes the noise is too much and you can't hear it. So you have to be quiet. You have to shake things up a little bit to understand, listen. Listen very quietly. Go and walk on the beach. Go and walk in nature. Go and walk barefoot. You know, go swim in the sea. Anything that you know that will allow you to connect and reconnect and listen to your heart song. That's the best way.
I love how you talk about, it's almost as if you're saying almost silence, find some time in your day on a daily basis to silence the outside world, almost as if you're putting yourself in one of those recording studios where no sound can get in, no sound can get out. We don't just talk about sound, we talk about the noise, you know, pollution and energy pollution from media and family and associates, as you say. What's your daily practice, Julie? What do you do on a daily basis to ensure that you do remain in that connected space?
Well, I'm as a healer, you're very lucky because I work within a sacred space every day, but that's by the by. But my daily practice happens at night just before I go to bed, and it is all about gratitude. And I ensure that I make a list of of everything I've been grateful for that day. From the gratitude of being alive, to the gratitude of feeling well, to the gratitude of the food I eat, to the gratitude of people that come in and out of my life, the gratitude of the people that make me smile and laugh. Everything I'm grateful for, I acknowledge, okay? And I do that while I'm in my bed, I've got my PJs on, I've snuggled down, but I go, I close my eyes, and I just go through the whole list of everything that I've been grateful for, because that gratitude allows us to be humble. That gratitude allows us to really understand the word humility. And with gratitude, when you realize that, you know, life, for whatever reason, you know, even the sometimes tough life, there is always something to be grateful for. You know, the fact that you're still alive, the fact that somebody smiled at you, the fact that somebody opened the door for you, always something. And gratitude for me is a big thing, because I think the more you're grateful, the more that comes back to you. You know, like attracts like, the big universal law, and gratitude is part of that, I believe. And that's really my solid daily practice.
Fantastic. Was there a time for you where, because you talked about how, well, I'll start with this story, with a little snippet of my insight. someone once told me quite a long time.
Sorry.
That's okay. Quite a long time ago, many years ago, that if you follow your heart or follow your passion, you will always be
Yeah.
taken care of. So you'll always have, all your needs met. So, physically, financially, romantically, everything will fall into place. Now,
Yeah.
kind of all those years ago, I was like, great, I can do whatever I want, and I'll be, everything's going to be easy. And I soon, very quickly realised that it wasn't as simple as that. And I've managed to fill in the gaps myself over the years, and I've become I've become an expert, really. But I wanted to maybe get your insight on as to how to, because you did have that moment where you were in a secure job, you then had this truth uncovered at that stage in your life as to what you were here to do, perhaps from that point onwards. Did it all fall into place with you? Were you taken care of financially? Were things easy? How did that pan out?
Taken care of.
Pardon?
Sorry, I think it cracked up a little bit there. But can you hear me okay now?
I can hear you.
Great. I was always taken care of. Always. Did I trust and believe that? Always? No. Because the only time that would really go wrong was when I brought fear in. Okay? If I become fearful that there was not enough money, fearful that we weren't going to make a bill or something, anything like that, that's when by bringing in the negative, that's when it all went, things would sort of go awry. So what I would have to do, I'd have to completely distract myself and trust, and I don't mean trust in this word of, wow, trust. It wasn't about that. It was ignoring the fear, okay, up in English language. Just really distracting myself away from the fear, because the more I did that, the more then things started to come into place. I was always cared for, everything happened as it should, and so that's probably the biggest thing is distraction and ignore the negative, because we all have this ego that chats away saying, you're not good enough, who the hell do you think you are? You do this? But the more then you just ignore that, and the more then you ignore it, you get the right people come into your life that influence you or give you joy or give you positivity, then things change. It's literally swapping fear for joy or fear for possibility.
So
that's what I think.
Yeah, so you would say focus on what you do want rather than on what you don't want. Is that what you would say? Yeah. Do you have any practical tips and tools, perhaps from traditions of shamanism or any other philosophies that you might practice or study that you could share with our audience today, so they can literally go away after today's session and put them into practice?
Yeah. We were taught that, the ego chatters away like a frickin' monkey on your shoulder. It doesn't shut up, okay? And it's there all the time. So our practice is actually to silence it. And that's, not by chopping its head off or pushing it away, but what you do, the more that your ego starts to chatter away, you start to then bring a silence in as long as possible. And that sometimes it'll last for a second, sometimes it lasts for 5 minutes. But by bringing in silence, by actually the minute that all these pictures come in your mind or these words come in your mind, you just almost bring down a blank screen, and you try and keep that blank screen going as long as possible. And what it does then, you actually end up silencing it more and more and more. So for the practice that I would use is shamanically, would be that one, silence the mind as much as possible. And it is a constant practice. It's like learning how not to judge. You literally, the minute you're going to judge, you have to stop it, okay? And you just distract yourself away and just say, no, I'm not going to judge today. And you stop it. And silence is the same thing. And it's quite a good practice, to learn to silence it, every time, okay, quiet, and quiet. And that's probably one of the main ones that I would use. Or if I feel a negative thought coming in and they come, I literally do discard them. You know, it's like having a massive boot in your head that you're just kicking it back out there. And I just discard it, because you learn, you know, negative thoughts are damning, they're destructive. You know, they don't do any good for any of us. So really, if it comes in, just say, okay, I either get up, distract myself and do something else, or I kick it out there and think of something nice. Great, you know, be grateful. That's the one. Or if something comes in, you know, Rhonda Byrne, she just says, well, say, thank you, thank you, thank you. You know, say it 3 times, and it's like a magic wand. It just goes whoosh out the window. And that's what I do. So it's getting rid of negativity and silencing the chatter. You know, even if you're on your own, you know, and chatter can be obsessive, it can be very damaging. You've got to learn to shut it up. You really have.
That's wonderful. I use that one, thank you, all the time, actually. And I actually heard it from Dr. Wayne Dyer. So it's a great one. It's a great one to implement, and to be in that space of gratitude, as you mentioned earlier on, almost constantly, and also to perhaps perceive those kind of blocks or obstacles or negative moments that are seeping in as opportunities to become more empowered and more aware. I think also what you're talking about speaks a lot of constantly being in that space of awareness and being in tune with what's going on. Exactly. That's the perfect word for it. Would you be able to share with us your philosophy or your idea of love and relationships? Because I know that a lot of people are tuning in who would like to have more fulfilled relationships, or even create and attract a partner, perhaps over the years that they've had failed ones, or whatever it might be for them. What would be your sharing on this subject?
Love. God, what a question. What a question. It's chaotic, it's raw, it's passionate, it's devastating. But it's all, love is something you've got to know and do for yourself, first of all. If you're unhealed, if you have unfulfilled expectations of love, guess what? You're never going to get the right love in your life, because who's going to fulfill those expectations if you can't even fulfill them yourself? Relationships, relationships is the biggest thing that we're here to learn. We're here to learn about our relationship with others, sexual, gender, whatever it is. We're here to learn about our relationship to the planet, and we're here to learn about our relationship to ourselves. Now, if we can't have a good relationship with ourselves, if we can't govern ourselves or allow ourselves to walk softly on the earth, be gentle, be loving, to show love, how the hell are we ever going to expect to have love in our lives? It has to start with us. Love is through our hearts from the divine. It's from source. And if we can't show that, show that to other people, be loving, then we can't really expect to have a good relationship. We'll have people coming in and out of our lives that will teach us plenty. We'll have these angels that show and mirror back to us everything that we need to heal. We all know that. People come into our life for a reason. But it's how we are within that relationship that will get remembered. It's how we are in that relationship when we react to something that always gets brought or thrown back in our face. So really, you have to really understand that love from within is what attracts the right sort of love from without. Alright, so start within, and then the rest follows suit. If you have had unhealthy relationships, one has, or you've had bad sexual experiences, well then you have to change all that pattern. You have to heal the past, draw a line under it. You have to understand the relationship with yourself, what you need, and what you can offer to others. And once that's all in place, then you're going to start to really have a partner that's sharing life with you and can reciprocate the love that you feel. Don't watch movies. Don't be influenced by magazines, books, because that's not a real expectation of love. That's idealized. Love is far more deeper than that. And, you know, we've become as humans quite disconnected from love.
I was going to ask you if you could share your ideas on, because you touched on, say, soul paths, soul contracts, for life in general. What are your ideas with regards to that concept and our say romantic relationships? Because there are many of us and lots of people out there who perhaps have experienced some different relationships and find yet again that the lessons are coming in thick and fast, and perhaps it's not, as you say, like it is portrayed in the movies. So are we destined to meet that particular person, or is it chance?
No, we are destined to meet it, because life, until we learn a lesson, all right, whatever particular lesson that is, that gets repeated.
Yeah.
And generally, you know, repeated incidents or repeated people that come into your life are here to show you the lesson that you need to learn. Or, you know, it's not like a school lesson, but it's a soul path lesson. And I think that, you know, once you say, okay, you know, say for somebody who keeps going into a relationship that's maybe violent, you know, and they keep picking a partner that has a violent way, or they're a drinker or anything like that, something that's negative, eventually you've got to say, hang on a minute, why am I attracting this? You know, why is the reason that I keep attracting the same person into my life? What is going on here? And eventually you've got to say, hang on a minute, is it me? You know, is there something within me that is attracting that in? Is there something within me that's attracting in the womanizer? Is there something within me that is attracting in, you know, the person that just wants to work all the time? Because there will be a mirror going on in some way. And I'm not talking that, you know, you're going to be violent or you're going to be addictive, but you may be addictive over something. You may be violent over something. You might have violent thoughts, you know, dark thoughts. There'll be something within you that is keeping attracting the same thing in. Like attracts like. It's the universal law, and that works with people. But until we get it, until we understand the lesson, and we say, oh, okay, hold on a minute there, I get it. Once we draw that line and say, okay, I'm going to heal myself first, I'm going to get myself right, and don't invite anybody else in until you're ready. You know, because if you're unhealed, you're going to get unhealed back. You know, you might get the angels, you may get the knights in shining armor, but, you know, unless you're totally healed, they're not going to stay around for too long. So you've got to sort yourself out. You've got to understand the type of people that you are inviting in.
Wonderful. Oh, so juicy. These are just all my favourite topics in the whole wide world. Yeah, it's just, it's such a joy and a pleasure to be here with you. Could you define, just in a sentence, success? What does it mean to you, or in your experience? How does it feel?
Do you know what? That word success, I find, is a measure. You know, it's delimitating. It is actually quite destructive, you know, if it's used in the wrong connotation. Because what is success for one person may be a bone of contention for another. So I don't look at success as a word. I look at success as it should be freedom, for instance. You know?
Well, that leads me on to my next one, which is freedom. You know, and the reason I put the two together is because I have my beliefs that it is everything that we seek is freedom.
Yeah.
So it's just really interesting to get your take on it. So talk to us, you know, a sentence on freedom.
Well, freedom is expression. Okay, freedom is the ability to express yourself in your truth without harming others, coming solely from your heart center. And I feel once you're living in your truth, you're walking your truth, that's freedom.
And so juicy. How easy is it to achieve that freedom? I'm gonna really sort of focus on freedom for a second here with you.
Yeah.
How easy is it? Yeah.
The easiest thing, the minute you become free is when you stop listening to the media, you stop listening to the news, you stop listening and reading the newspapers, you stop buying into the politicians, you stop buying into manipulation and lies, okay? The minute you say, hold on a minute, I don't have to live this way. Why am I paying tax again on tax, something else I've been taxed on, tax. If it doesn't feel right to you, it probably isn't right. So freedom is a way of, I guess, it's a way of really freeing yourself from the way society wants you to think.
Yeah.
Okay? Stop being influenced by, the sheep. Stop being influenced by the followers. Stop being influenced by the dictators.
So are you sort of saying that it's one of our most basic human needs, isn't it, to belong, to be part of the group? So are you saying that we need to really look at that and just address where in our lives are we? And actually, I talk about this a lot with my students and clients. Ask yourself the question, why do I do what I do? Even down to the little. And I'll share quite a funny story. I gave up pairing up socks in my household many years ago because I didn't enjoy it. It was something that, really was the bane of my life. So I decided I wasn't going to do it anymore, and that everyone's old enough and ugly enough to find their own way around, the sock drawers and figure it out for themselves. And I removed that responsibility from me. That's not to say that I say that everyone has to wear odd socks, but if it's important to you, then go ahead. So I really invite. Yeah, I know. Actually, I actually blogged on it. I wrote an article about it, and inspired by one evening coming out of my nice toasty bath, reaching into the sock. I have a big, huge bag with everyone's socks in. Reaching in and just picking out what two socks, both for my partners, but totally different stripes, but completely clashing colours. Just put them on, and I just looked down and thought, oh, that's so funny. Took a photograph. And it really does come back to that element of just being free to choose and being really in tune with why we do what we do. So I love that, Julie.
Yeah, I think it's beautiful. We've got to stop enabling, the global consciousness that is enabling us to think that we have to buy a house, for example. We have to have a mortgage. We have to pay, have a water bill. We've got to start questioning. We've got to say, well, why? Why have we? Don't enable everything, just for want of being a follower. Yeah, I think.
Fantastic. What a great note to end on. I know that you've got a brilliant free gift to offer our audience today. Would you be able to tell us about it?
Well, I'm going to give away a signed copy of my book, Living Shamanism. Okay, and I shall be adding in a couple of beautiful oils that I make. Probably a forgiveness oil and a oil that clears away mental anxiety. Okay, I love being an alchemist. I love it, and I've been urged to do this for a long while. So the book is Living Shamanism. Of course, I'll sign it for the person, and also send a couple of oils and how to use them. That'll be my gift.
Wonderful. We're so excited about that. I'm going to put my hand up for that too. Is there any last note? Let me rephrase that. What passionate message, if I asked you to just pick one for the next minute or so, what passionate message would you like to leave our audience with today?
My message would be, know that everything is already within you. Everything you dream about, everything you want to do is already waiting within you for the right time for you to do it. And once you align to that, and once it kicks off, you're opening up a beautiful space of magical possibility. So heal the past, draw a line under it, and then know that when it's right, magical possibility is there for everybody. And it's a beautiful space. It's creative.
Beautiful. I just need to ask you this before we go. What are miracles in your world?
Miracles are belief. It's belief that everything is possible. Because I've had many miracles, and they're not like turning bread into wine or anything like that. But
Yeah.
miracles have been the people that come into my life, the people that bring gifts. Like yourself, you're a miracle, Maria. And
Oh.
you know, you've come into my life and it's been a miracle. So it's the people that come into your life, it's, you know, the belief that anything is possible, and it always is. Life is a miracle.
Oh yes, amen to that. Well,
I
Julie, it's been more than a pleasure to
Oh,
hang out with
lovely.
you today, and I'm wishing you a bliss-filled day, and everyone watching too.
Thank you, darling. Mwah. I hope.